The State versus Carson case raises a question of what exactly are you on the hook for when you go along with one crime? This is a Tennessee case, not a Pennsylvania case, but the reason I give it to you is this. This Tennessee case lays out what the common law rule was. Now, we will learn in Commonwealth versus Roebuck and Commonwealth versus Knox that Pennsylvania adopts the model penal code for accomplice liability, for complicity. But it's useful to know where we came from. What was the prior rule that pretty much everyone adopted prior to the model penal code's new rule? And this was the rule of natural and probable consequences. It was a very broad rule. It would remind you very much of felony murder. So if you recall in felony murder, if you're engaged in a robbery and someone dies, we don't ask questions about how they died, so long as there was some causal connection between your actions and the victim's death while you were committing a felony, you're on the hook for felony murder. A very similar notion was true for this doctrine of natural and probable consequences. So once you have agreed to assist, or once you are assisting a crime, then everything that anyone does who's part of this criminal group, you're now on the hook for. So let's say that you go in to rob a bank, and one of your co-bank robbers pulls out a gun and shoots the teller. You're now on the hook for first-degree murder under this notion of natural and probable consequences that the Tennessee Carson case lays out for you. Because when you agreed to be part of this bank robbery and assisted this bank robbery by going into the bank itself, you then became liable for everything that naturally, conceivably could have flowed from that bank robbery. Now, I offer you that not for the current state of the law in Pennsylvania. I offer you that as a preview of what you'll see, particularly in the Knox case. In the Knox case, you will see that Pennsylvania has adopted the model penal code, and under it, you are only liable for the actions of your confederates to the extent you share their culpability. It has to be more than, yeah, we could imagine something like this happening if you committed this crime, or if a group of you committed this crime. It's got to be more than that. The jury has to actually find that you shared the liability, that you shared the culpability of the person who committed the underlying crime. But the common law notion was, once you're part of a criminal activity with other people, then everything that happens, you're on the hook for. Anything that that group does that's in any way in furtherance of the goal. So like if they have to shoot someone, or if they just do shoot someone as part of the robbery, you're on the hook. If you're robbing someone on the street and one of your confederates pulls out a gun that you didn't know he or she had, if it was even foreseeable that the person would have a gun, under that common law notion, natural and probable consequences, you're on the hook. But under the model penal code, unless you also have the same degree of mens rea for that additional element, that additional crime, then even though it flows out of the crime you've agreed to be and have become a part of, you're not liable unless you were reckless or had knowledge or intended, depending on what degree of mens rea is actually required for that crime that flows from the first part of the criminal enterprise.